The leader of a heinous Islamist terrorist group has called for President Trump and many of his top advisors to be assassinated as revenge for the pro-Israel stances, supposedly. Saad bin Atef al-Awlaki, the newest leader of the group Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, AQAP, issued the disturbing call in a propaganda video released on Sunday, and he encouraged Muslims in America to take revenge.
كل مسلم على أرض أمريكا الكافرة المجرمة المتغطرسة سواء أكان من أصول عربية أم أمريكية أو غيرها، المهم أن يكون دينه الإسلام ونبيه محمدا عليه الصلاة والسلام، والذين بلغ تعدادهم 4.5 مليون مسلما في أمريكا وحدها، نقول لهم جميعا الثأر الثأر، لا تشاوروا أحدا في قتل الأمريكان الكفرة.
In our last video, we talked about an Australian preacher by the name of Brother Abu Ahmed. He encouraged young Muslims to look up to terrorists such as Lady Al-Qaeda, a woman serving a lengthy prison sentence for carrying out attacks on Americans. Today we have a concerning example, making threats against the Americans and the Arab leaders. Today I'm going to be discussing Al-Qaeda's newest leader of the Yemen branch, Saad bin Atef al-Awlaki, and his threats to America. Who is he and what is his message to American Muslims? As a former Muslim, I'm going to answer the question, is Al-Qaeda inspired by Islam? And should we be worried? Let's get into it. In a bone-chilling video, Saad bin Atef al-Awlaki calls on American Muslims to do his dirty work and assassinate President Trump, J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and even Elon Musk. As we speak, there is a $6 million bounty on his head. He operates the Al-Qaeda branch in Yemen, as I said. Do you remember Anwar al-Awlaki, who was also preaching jihad against America? I was actually a fan of his. I listened to his Life of the Prophets and even his Jihad series. Biggest fan back then, believe it or not. He was an American who went to Yemen in 2004 and embraced militant jihad. This guy, Saad, is from the same tribe, hence the name. AP News states the Yemen branch of Al-Qaeda has been seen by Washington as the terror network's most dangerous branch ever since its attempt in 2009 to bomb a commercial airliner over the United States. It claimed responsibility for the 2015 deadly attack in Paris on the French satirical weekly Charlie Hebdo, but the overseas operations have waned in recent years. Although in decline, AQAP remains the most effective terrorist group in Yemen with intent to conduct operations in the region and beyond. The evil system of Muhammad's religion just keeps on delivering. Their goals are to sow the seeds of mistrust in society between Muslims and non-Muslims and to create chaos and remove any stability that exists in the world. It's the same thing that Hamas does. They don't want peace. This group exists to only do one thing, to implement chaos and destruction and profit from it against the kuffars and to bring the horrors of Sharia law back to the world, to dominate over all other ways. But where did these evil, violent beliefs come from, you ask? I'm going to tell you. They're inspired by Japanese Shinto culture. Wait, I'm just kidding. That's not where it's from. It's from Mormonism. Nah, I'm just joking again. We all know it comes from the religion of Muhammad. Al-Qaeda's offensive jihad comes directly from an interpretation of Islamic teachings. Let's see what the Quran says. Before I read it, notice the call for violence mixed in with the false statements and rants about Jews and Christians. Fight those who do not believe in Allah or in the last day, and who do not consider unlawful what Allah and His Messenger have made unlawful, and who do not adopt the religion of truth from those who were given the scripture. Fight until they give the jizya willingly while they are humbled. The Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah, and the Christians say the Messiah is the son of Allah. That is their statements from their mouths. They imitate the saying of those who disbelieve before them. May Allah destroy them. How are they deluded? They have taken their scholars and monks as lords beside Allah, and also the Messiah, the son of Mary. And they were not commanded except to worship one God. There is no deity except Him. Exalted is He above whatever they associate with Him. They want to extinguish the light of Allah with their mouths. Allah refuses except to perfect his light, although the disbelievers dislike it. It is he who has sent his messenger with guidance and the religion of truth to manifest it over all other religion, although they who associate others with Allah dislike it. That's Quran 9:26 to 33. What other nonsense in there about Jews and Christians and the things they say which they don't actually say and things they do which they don't actually do? That was painful, but we made it to the end. This isn't the time or the place to unpack all that. What we want to focus on here is how supremacist the religious teachings are, how it'll manifest itself over all other ways of life. Imam Ahmed recorded from Tamim ad-Dari that he said, I heard the Messenger of Allah saying, this matter, Islam, will keep spreading as far as the night and day reach, until Allah will not leave a house made of mud or hair, wow, very modern, but will make this religion enter it, while bringing might to a mighty person, a Muslim, and humiliation to a disgraced person who rejects Islam. Might with which Allah elevates Islam and its people, and disgrace with which Allah humiliates disbelief and his people. Tamim ad-Dari, who was a Christian before Islam, used to say, I've come to know the meaning of this hadith in my own people. Those who became Muslim among them acquired goodness, honor and might. Disgrace, humiliation and jizya befell those who remained disbelievers. As you can see, lovely teachings. And wow, did he really predict houses made of mud and hair? I see them all. No, I'm just kidding. We don't see any of those houses. What a great prediction from Muhammad. And no surprise how Al-Qaeda operates. We're going to see that what they're doing is similar to what Muhammad did. Assassin's Creed. Al-Qaeda is also following Muhammad, not Buddha or Jesus' example of assassinations. There are many examples of this, such as the killing of the Jewish poet Ka'b bin Ashraf. He asked his companions to volunteer who would kill him, and then even allowed them to lie for it. In this hadith in Bukhari, he said, war is deceit. Essentially, if you're a jihadi, you can lie and do whatever it takes if you are at war. That includes political assassinations. That being said, many nation states do this too. So what's the difference? I'll tell you the difference. Al-Qaeda targets civilians, journalists, aid workers, tourists. They bomb airplanes that have people on it that have nothing to do with the fight. There's no accountability and the goals are a worldwide caliphate. When the CIA does their murky things, they're often targeting high-value military targets such as bin Laden, and often considered necessary evil, not glorified like the terrorists do. Citizens can protest these too. They're also not meant to strike terror, like the Quran says, and manipulate policies of people. Again, not defending what the CIA does, right? They do things that are wrong too. But I'm just trying to show that they're not morally equivalent in any way. A question to ask yourself, what if Al-Qaeda got a nuclear bomb? What if America did? Would they behave the same way? No. You wouldn't want to see Al-Qaeda getting a bomb like that. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't end well. Asking Muslims to carry this out. Saad is asking Muslims to kill American targets and to kill the Arab leaders. A topic like this wouldn't be complete without covering this. Muslims are not the same as Islam. Do most Muslims condemn and disassociate themselves from Al-Qaeda? I'd say yes. Majority don't relate to such teachings. However, there are always going to be some that do, and that's a problem. People and culture are influenced by religion, and these teachings, even if they influence 1% of the population, are bad. That doesn't mean we assume all Muslims or most are terrorists. The problem with Al-Qaeda calling on American Muslims to do the dirty work for them is the fact that the US has never ensured supply of those who are mentally ill, have been radicalized, or both, and have access to firearms. Saad is quoted in the Jerusalem Post using loaded language, saying we need to revive the tradition of assassinating those near to the leaders of apostasy. He claims the greatest form of jihad is to carry these out, and I quote, anyone who can revive the tradition of assassinations and is near the leaders of apostasy, those who support the war in Gaza with money, aid, and logistics, the Jewish Arabs, like the leaders of Egypt, Jordan, and all the rulers of the Arabian Peninsula, should not hesitate even for a moment. By Allah, assassinations are the greatest form of jihad today, he insisted. What does it mean? I truly hope that no Muslim answers his call. But remember Anwar Avlaki, the one I mentioned earlier in the video? Back in November 2009, an army officer by the name of Nidal Hassan opened fire at Fort Hood, Texas, and killed 13 people and wounded over 30 others in the worst shooting against armed forces on an American military base. Nidal was in email contact with Avlaki. And then we had this guy, Omar Farouk, who tried to bomb an airplane, also in contact with the late Avlaki. According to the indictment filed in this case in August 2009, the defendant traveled to Yemen for the purpose of becoming involved in violent jihad on behalf of Al-Qaeda. There, the defendant conspired with other Al-Qaeda members to bomb a US aircraft over US soil and received an explosive device for that purpose. He was partially successful. Abdul Muttalib traveled with the bomb concealed in his underwear from Yemen to Africa and then to Amsterdam, the Netherlands, where he boarded flight 253 on Christmas Day, 2009. Abdul Muttalib's purpose in taking the bomb on flight 253 was to detonate it during flight. 253 was on descent into Detroit Metropolitan Airport. The defendant detonated the bomb, which resulted in a fire but otherwise did not fully explode. Passengers and flight attendants tackled the defendant and extinguished the fire. Then we also have the Boston Marathon bombers, who were funded by Anwar Avlaki in Yemen, and the Charlie Hebdo shooters, also inspired by him. As you can see, there's no shortage of people willing to convert and even kill and die for the cause. So what do? It means we challenge Islam, because this is one of the most valuable things we can do today. It means lives saved, less people will blow themselves up and sacrifice themselves or others for the good of an imaginary bloodthirsty Allah. While the FBI fights this scourge that wants to destroy our peace here in the West, we have to challenge this dogma in the strongest way possible. The suffering of Muslims. Al-Qaeda and these groups claim to represent Muslims. They claim that they're doing these vile things for Muslims. Saeed al-Avlaki said, "There are no red lines after all that has been happening to our people in Gaza, the genocidal war, and the systematic and deliberate killing of women, children, and elderly. Reciprocal response is lawful, especially because they are continuing to kill our women and children in Palestine, Syria, Somalia, and Yemen. When they cease doing that, we will cease as well." Yeah, right, he'll cease as well. The problem with this argument is it makes no sense. There's little to no credible evidence that terrorism leads to a reduction in global warfare, deaths, or colonialism. In fact, most studies show the opposite. Terrorism often escalates violence, hardens authoritarian policies, and invites even more foreign intervention. Countries that experience terrorism often see an increase in government crackdowns, foreign military involvement, and internal instability. Hamas is a good example. After the October 7th terrorist attack, Gaza was flattened. There's been nothing but bad that's come out of that incident. Terrorism doesn't work in achieving any sort of benefit to Muslims. In fact, as in the recent Netflix documentary, American Manhunt, Osama bin Laden, which was actually really good and I highly recommend watching it, the attacks were precisely what led to a massive coordinated hunt for bin Laden. The rise of Saad bin Avlaki and his public calls for assassination of world leaders are not random. They're the result of the nasty system of Islam that glorifies martyrdom and grooms people for violence. Islam and Muhammad are the blueprint for these evil men, and while most Muslims don't take that path, it's still there and a deep part of the theology. We see so many people willing to throw their lives away and to join this evil cause. Even if 1% follow it, what does that mean for the rest of us? We cannot remain silent out of fear, political correctness, or misplaced tolerance. We have to challenge it, not out of hate for Muslims, but love for humanity. Leave Islam behind. Life is better and more beautiful without it. Thanks for watching. Want to help us do more or give your thanks? Donate on Patreon or PayPal. Join our cause. Join us on Patreon for a monthly membership to support the channel, or on PayPal. Links are below. Can't afford to do that? Like the video, write a comment of support, and subscribe. This is Mr. Friendly Ex-Muslim signing out. Check out this video next that YouTube thinks you're going to like.